Khalid. How's everyone?
Okay. How are you, Dr. Naya?
Very good, Alhamdulillah.
Hello everyone, I hope you all doing well.
Hello,
Hello.
hello, Khalid. Hello,
Yes.
Marwa,
Yes, sir.
Omnia. How are you getting?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing fine.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Good. Do you know who's gonna present today?
Yes, me.
Okay, that. Okay, you can share your screen when you are ready. Okay, hello everyone. Today we're gonna talk about COVID again in this meeting, and then Dr. Dalia will present. Uh, so it's all yours whenever you are ready.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Dalia Ali, and I'll be presenting COVID vaccine myth and facts. I'll also be talking about the current treatment of COVID. Okay, I just want to hide this. Okay. One moment. All right. So I'll start off with the first myth. COVID-19 vaccine are not safe, and that's not true. They're very safe and effective. Um, as safety is very a top priority in the U.S. vaccine safety, and this vaccine has gone in the for he has gone for the steps for all the steps it has been gone for the vaccine, so it's been FDA approved, and a lot of medical expert has been involved in it, and a lot of trials has been done, and again a lot of participant, and it is very safe. And the only side effects that has been reported in the vaccine, that's are chills, body aches, arthralgia, and it's pretty much happened in every other vaccine like flu vaccine and things like that. The current vaccine that they have been used in the United States are the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. It has 95% effectiveness, and Moderna vaccine, and it has 94% effectiveness. The second one is the COVID vaccine were rushed and developed too quickly, and that there is some reasons of why they were very rushed, and that's because it was a pandemic, and a lot of experts were involved in it and researcher. So they stopped anything they were doing and they focused only on developing the vaccine. The second reason is that messenger RNA is already ready, as it has been already ready for other kind of vaccines, and as a development for a trial for cancer efforts. So the messenger RNA was ready. They were just wanted to know the genomic sequences of the novel coronavirus. The next mess is that you can get COVID 19 from COVID-19 vaccine. And that's again not true because in the PCR and the test for the for COVID, we're looking for the antigen. So when we give anyone the vaccine, they are developing antibodies. So they're not going to be positive if they have any kind of if they have the vaccine. So as I was saying again, the side effects are fatigue, headache, soreness, and redness of the injection site, muscle, and joint pain. And again, those symptoms are just normal as the body is developing some kind of immunity. The next myth is that if I have recovered from COVID, I don't need to get COVID vaccine. And that's again not true, as they have to, this is a natural immunity, and the COVID vaccine is passive. So it's important. The natural immunity is definitely good for the body, but the passive immunity is a must to fight COVID vaccine. I mean, sorry, to fight the infection itself. So it's recommended for everyone to have the COVID vaccine, even if they had COVID before. Um, the next one is you will get a positive COVID-19 viral if you receive the vaccine. And that's not true. You'll not get test positive. As I was saying, the viral vaccine, it checks for the antigens and the, uh, the sorry, the COVID itself infection, it checks for the or sorry, the test itself, it checks for the antigen or the viral test, and the vaccine, it looks for the antibody. Like it's not going to the person is not going to be positive for it. Um, the next myth is pregnant and breastfeeding women should not get COVID vaccine. The CDC Advisory Committee of Immunization Practices has started that had stated sorry they had stated that people who are pregnant may choose to be vaccinated. So yes, it has since they just developed the Moderna and Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. They have been not tested in pregnant women uh, till this time. So there is a we're not sure about being given to pregnant women. However, it is safe to be given for breastfeeding women, and if they wanted to be vaccinated, they definitely can be as the vaccine on the breast or on the breastfed infant or the milk production or on it's not going to be on the milk production or the excretion. The next one is once I get a vaccine, I can stop wearing a mask and social distancing, and that's not true. Uh, it should it's still recommended to for all everyone to wear masks and maintain the social distancing, as they may still have in their body the virus and they may infect others. And yes, when you get the vaccine, you are protected from having COVID yourself, but for others, there's still going to be a risk for them. So it's always better to, or it's always good to um, be safe and do that. All right. So the next part of the presentation, I'm going to talk about the treatment or the current treatment for COVID vaccine. I'll be talking about the most. I'm not going to talk about the other um, immunological or viral treatment. We're just talking about the treatment that they're using right now, and that's remdesivir. Remdesivir has been granted on emergency use authorization by FDA, and that's for since May 1st, 2020. And it's been used of course, in hospitalized patients with COVID who do not need oxygen supplementation through a high flow oxygen. So remdesivir is used only for patients do not need oxygen supplementation. If it's high, only if it's high flow device. So it's being used for those patients that need the low flow device. And there's no sufficient studies as for October 2020. There is no sufficient study for recommendation of that recommend remdesivir for patients that have mild to moderate COVID that do not need supplemental oxygen, or those that need high flow oxygen supplementation, ventilation, invasive mechanical ventilation, or ECMO. So they are not used in that situation. Instead, corticosteroids is used in that situations. So the effectiveness and safety of remdesivir for the treatment of children and pregnant women with COVID has not been evaluated till now. It may be considered after weighing the risk and benefits. So remdesivir is used. For patient more than age of I'm not sure 12 or 18, but it's not usually used for patients that are young. Next point that I'll be talking about is the corticosteroids and NIH COVID-19 treatment guidelines panel recommends using dexamethasone for patients with COVID-19 who are mechanically ventilated and require supplemental oxygen. As I said before, those are the situations that we are not using remdesivir. So the further studies show that IV application, which is systemic corticosteroid therapy, does not seem to affect outcome in mild courses of COVID-19. So giving dexamethasone for mild courses is not going to help a lot. And one study suggests faster recovery from severe pneumonia in patients who have been treated with low dose dexamethasone early in the course of the disease. So as I was saying, for the meantime, in the hospital, any patient that is admitted, hospitalized patient with COVID-19, they've been using for them IV or low dose dexamethasone. While the inhaled application withdrawing inhaled corticosteroid in patients with pre-existing health condition like COPDers and asthmatic patients who are previously being treated with this drug might increase the risk for unfavorable outcomes. So basically, it's not recommended to give to stop those inhaled corticosteroids inhaled for those patients, as we don't want them to have COVID and an added exacerbation of asthma or COPD. So it's always recommended to have their own dosage and just to continue as they used to before hospitalization. Next point is anticoagulation. Is given for every hospitalized patient with COVID, and that's because COVID is a hypercoagulable state, because the ARDS and it causes coagulation disorders. So it's always recommended to give them prophylaxis, and that based on the possible, as I said, increase of rate of thrombotic events with COVID. Theoretic anticoagulation with low molecular weight heparin and oxyparin may be indicated in patients with sepsis-induced coagulopathy and patients with very high D-dimer. Having a very high D-dimer is a poor outcome, of course, in patients with COVID-19. And as I said, it's recommended to thromboprophylaxis with either low molecular weight heparin, fondaparinux for all hospitalized patients, unless there is a high risk of bleeding. Next point that is we talked about is chloroquine, a less toxic hydroxychloroquine, plus or minus azithromycin. Currently, as of October 2020, there is no evidence supporting the use of drugs in the treatment of COVID of patients with COVID-19. And there's also no supporting events regarding the efficacy to prevent COVID-19 when administered as post-exposure prophylaxis. And as for the beginning of the March or beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a drug shortage, and that's because of the dissemination of false information regarding the efficacy of hydroxychloroquine to treat COVID-19, and has led to surge in purchase and severe supply shortage worldwide. and that has posed a challenge to patients that with rheumatoid disease that are depending on chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine. So with that being said, there are no proven benefits of hydroxychloroquine for COVID-19, and there's a lot of risk actually is carried with giving that medication. So it's only reserved for patients that already depending on it, like patients with rheumatic diseases. So when do we admit the patient to intensive care unit? And that's when the patient has the signs of respiratory failure, dyspnea, hypoxemia, or tachypnea with respiratory rate more than 30 per minute. And the airway management, starting with the airway management, the intensive care, we should always be careful for the healthcare worker during doing the intubation, because aerosol generating during this procedure can affect the healthcare worker. So they should always wear the PPE and be very careful. Endotracheal intubation, rapid sequence induction is preferred, especially as it minimizes the spread of the infectious aerosols. And to avoid aerosolization of the virus, non-invasive ventilation, high-flow oxygen therapy, bronchoscopy, and nebulizer treatment should be avoided unless there is an absolute indication, as it's going to aerosolize there and it's going to be there in the machine itself. Um, Avoiding nebulized medication, inhaled medication should be administered by meter dose inhaler whenever possible rather than through a nebulizer to avoid the risk again of aerosolization of COVID-19 through the nebulizer. The next one is a mechanical breathing. And when do we mechanically ventilate the patient? And that will be the same thing as the ARDS. The measurements are going to be the same as ARDS. So it's going to be high ventilation, high oxygenation, so with a high PEEP, and low tidal volume, just to prevent the barotrauma. So the ventilation is going to be low, just like the ARDS, with moderate tidal volume of 6 ml per kilogram. The blood too is going to be less than 30, and permissive hypercapnia with the PEEP and the PEEP and the fraction of oxygen is going to be adjusted according to the ARDS net protocol. Then I'll be talking about convalescent plasma. It's obtained from individuals who have recovered from COVID-19 and can provide passive antibody-based immunity. It is contain antibodies to the pathogen at sufficient titer and biological activity to provide passive immunity to the recipient. So it's basically the procedure is the convalescent plasma is just like the fresh frozen plasma. So it's being can be given to the patient directly from the patient from the one that recovered to the other person that having got COVID, or it can be stored and then giving the plasma later for them. However, the convalescent plasma is available for hospitalized patients with COVID through emergency use authorization, but it had not been used till now, and it's only just being used for the outside clinical trials. It's also being evaluated in the outpatient population and as post-exposure prophylaxis. So for the convalescent plasma, it's not routinely available, nor is it it's not a FDA product, approved product. It has been available for specific pathogen at the time of the disease and epidemic. So since the time of pandemic and epidemic happened, the people were just desperate to find a treatment, and at that time they did the convalescent plasma, but they're not using it for at the meantime. And as once the epidemic has subsided, convalescent plasma is likely to become unavailable unless a process has been put in place to bank plasma for the future, as I was saying. So what are the risks that are carried with the convalescent plasma? Just like any kind of transfusion reaction, like allergy, anaphylaxis, hemolysis, taco, and trolley. All of these things can happen with the as the transfusion reaction with the plasma. However, it's well tolerated with rare transfusion reaction that can generally be controlled with supportive treatment. For the meantime, the complication that has been seen with the convalescent plasma, and that is transfusion reaction seen in less than 1%, thrombotic complication less than 1%, and cardiac events seen in approximately 3%. Then I'll be talking about hyperimmune globulin. And that is another investigational approach to provide passive immunity to individuals exposed to COVID-19 or those early in the disease course. For those who have access to hyperimmune globulin through a clinical trial, this is a reasonable alternative to convalescent plasma and may carry a lower risk of adverse effect. And it's typically administered as a single dose. Some products are given. It's given either IM intravenously or, and some products are given intramuscular. And the efficacy of hyperimmune globulin has not been reported till now. And what are the advantages? Advantages are of hyperimmune globulin is that pathogen reduction is standard during manufacture, lower volume, more concentrated with high titer, and it has lower risk of transfusion reaction. It's not eliminated, but it's lower and other adverse effects, and it has potential, as I said, for IM administration and ease of storage and shipping, allowing transfer from regions of active outbreaks. And what are the disadvantages? And that are the cost of the preparation and the large number of plasma units required for manufacture. And that will bring me to the end of the presentation. Thank you all, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Dalia, for the excellent and brief, uh, efficient presentation. Thank you. That's really great and informative and very helpful. Thank you so much. Great. Good job. Thank you. Appreciate it. Please feel free to ask question or add comments if any. Anyone with more questions for Dalia in the topic?
Thank you, Dalia, for the great presentation. It is very informative. I just have a question. I'm not sure. I just heard, I think there's approval or something for ivermectin to be included in the treatment. I read it, I think, yesterday, but I wasn't sure. Like, I didn't go into the details of that. If anyone have any information about this.
One moment. Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, I've seen about ivermectin that has been used, but it's not used for hospitalization. As I was saying, those are the medications that have been used for in the meantime, the remdesivir and the dexamethasone. But I will look into it right now while talking to you, just to see what's about ivermectin. One moment, please.
In the meantime, I'll add a short comment. So it was raised as a positive or possible medication. I think a few months back, maybe August, September, and they said depending on the lab results, so they test that in cell level, and the mechanism they said it will be effective. But during that period, when they applied it clinically, they didn't find a good result. But currently, I'm not sure. Dalia can update us if there is a new study. That's a good question. Thank you, Khalid. Any other comments or questions while we get the answer?
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Hello,
I
Luella.
apologize, I just joined at the end of the presentation, but seems very good presentation. I will watch it in the recording. Thank you, Dalia.
Mulham, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Nader, and
أهلا
everybody.
وسهلا. هلا.
The presentation was really well prepared. There's a lot of details there, and thank you, Dali, for the literature. So you took a lot of time to prepare this for us. I appreciate that. And you used your hand gestures to explain some points. That was really good. And you mentioned an important myth, which is mentioned a lot, even in the media, and everyone is sending videos, which is pregnancy and breastfeeding. No, they said not, no, no. But yeah, you mentioned exactly the myth and the importance of it and how the guidelines go with it. So that's a really important point. And you mentioned therapies in detail. You mentioned the anticoagulation, the chloroquine, the hazards of endotracheal intubation. That's really great, important points. The aerosol process, and even you mentioned the nebulizers. It shouldn't be used. Avoid it and use metered dose inhaler. Yeah, that's interesting points really. And the convalescent plasma and its importance. I really appreciate your presentation. It was really important. I learned a lot from it. I'm going to go through it in details because it needs some time to go through the contents there. There's a lot of points to digest, really. Thank you. And yeah, the quotation at the end was Winston Churchill. Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Laban Mohan. And for Khalid, about the ivermectin, I will just read it for you right now, or should I just share the screen? One moment. It's better just to share it.
Sure.
So we'll try to highlight it. So yeah, it has been proposed as a potential therapy based on the vitro activity against COVID-19, but the drug level used in the vitro for far exceeded those achieved in vivo for safe with safe drug dosage. So basically, regardless of studies and anything, various clinical trials of ivermectin are underway, but the way the only results available to us for far are from low quality unpublished trials. As with other intervention that are not supported by high quality data, we do not use ivermectin outside of clinical trials, basically. It's right here. I hope that will help.
Thank you, Dalia.
That's great. Thanks, Khalid, and for the question, Dalia, for answering that. Thank you so much. This is really great. Khalid Osman, go ahead. You have a question, and then while.
Yes, thank you, Dalia, for the great presentation. It was really interesting to know the various treatments of COVID. I have a question regarding one of the treatments used. Here, the guidelines in Sudan include antibiotics. One of them is, I believe, a third generation cephalosporin, and another antibiotic. Can anyone, does anyone know if antibiotics have an effect on COVID?
Honestly, for the antibiotics, they're not. I haven't seen anything like any kind of approach for the antibiotics because it's a viral. They're not being used for routinely in the patient, hospitalized patient, unless there is like another pneumonia, like any kind of bacterial pneumonia with that the patient has. It's not being used. The only thing that has been used, as I was saying, the dexamethasone and the the remdesivir. And even remdesivir, by the way, is being used only for 4 weeks from the symptoms of the for the development of symptoms for patients with COVID. If after 4 weeks it's not usually be used because the viral activity is happen in that period of time. So again, for the antibiotics, I don't see anything on the literature that has been used unless there is any kind of indication. That's that's the thing that I've read. But anyone, if they have anything that to add, it would be appreciated.
Anyone wants to add any comments? That's a great question, Khalid. So here, I don't see patient at the hospital at the current time, but some of my patients go there. When they come back, some of them are treated with antibiotics. So I agree with you, Dalia. If you suspect secondary bacterial infection, usually pneumonia, then yes, they will add the antibiotics accordingly. And I treat my patient as outpatient, and I do the same if I suspect there is additional infection, bacterial, that's to say, then yes, we can add the antibiotics accordingly.
Yes, thank you for the answer, Dr. Nader and Dalia. I haven't seen any guideline that use that recommend antibiotics except for here. That's why I thought it's a bit strange.
It could be because of multiple things in Sudan, but we don't know exactly why they added to the guideline. Good question. Thank you. Wael, go ahead.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you, Dalia, for the great presentation. Really informative. I have a question about vaccine. So what are the vaccines are being used now? And is Pfizer is the only vaccine used in US? And if there is any other vaccine using worldwide?
Well, for the thank you for your question. And for the worldwide, I haven't got into the other names. I didn't even put it down. I just put the one in the U.S. that are currently has been used, and that's the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, and the other one that is Moderna vaccine, and that's are the only one that has been used right now.
So Pfizer is the only one that are being
No,
used in
Pfizer and
US?
Moderna. No, Pfizer,
Both of them?
BioNTech, and Moderna. Yes, both of them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, both of them were approved and are in use, both of them.
I just want to comment on Khalid's questions about the antibiotic. I found here in up-to-date that because of difficulty to distinguish between pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia, and COVID, it depends on the clinical judgment. If you are unsure, you can start empiric antibiotic. And at the same time, they recommend is that we have to confirm microbiologically through like sputum or chest X-ray to. Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. I agree with that. Thank you so much, Khalid, for the additional information. Yeah, so great. Thank you, I also for the question. And thank you, Dali, for the clarification. There are other vaccine around the world. The Chinese, I think, and Russian, they have their own. In England, I'm not sure if they are using the same one from here or they have, I think they call Oxford vaccine. So there are, even here, there are total of 17 studies on different vaccines, but the two that were approved and are in use are the Pfizer and Moderna. Okay, thank you. Marwa, did you have a question?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Dalia. It was really great presentation, really useful, a lot of useful informations. I just wanted to ask, not just Dalia, maybe everyone, if anyone have any information about how far like the vaccination in the US, like how many individuals have been vaccinated, because I have been seeing, and like the maybe over the last week or like recently the numbers are really high, even like reaching 300,000 cases per day in the US. So does anyone have any information about like how percentage is the coverage so far, the vaccination, only the medical teams, or is it going beyond that at the moment? Thank you.
Well, it actually, thank you for your question. It went beyond that for sure, beyond the healthcare providers. It differ from state to state. For example, in Michigan right now, the healthcare provider, of course, they've been given the vaccines, whoever that wanted to get to have it, and the next stage is giving the patient for patients or individuals, sorry, more than 65. That's the cutoff right now. So it differs from the state to another state. For example, Ohio can give for anyone of any age, of course, more than 16. That's the vaccine, and the numbers indeed it's going very high. A lot, like it's not even 300,000. I would say very high. I'm just looking right now in front of me and trying to find the actual number. But yes, as I said, it differs from state to another state. That's all.
Thank you so much.
I agree with you, Daria. Thanks for the question, Marwa. And actually, CNN has a video I watched yesterday about that, and it talks about the difference between one state compared to other. Like in Florida, for example, all of them focus on 65 and older, but how they reach that population. Then some uses a system like a lottery. So you have to call and then schedule. They will give you a number, and then you'll be in the list. And so that's also poses a problem for older patient who has a little bit of difficulty communicating. So they have to have someone from the family to arrange for them, spouse or children, to call and make sure the appointment is there. Even with that, the transportation to the facilities where this vaccination takes place is because most of the time they use a bigger facility where a high number of patient or individual are vaccinated at one time, and then next group. So most of these places, you have to have a car to reach that place. So there is no transportation. So people need to also arrange for transportation to get the vaccine and come back home for older patients. But thank you. All right. Any other questions? Sumi, please go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Dalia, for your very nice and organized presentation. I would like to clarify one thing, that recently California suspends the use of Moderna vaccine. There was a news 4 days back, and because of severe allergic reactions. But I think there are like a quite few amount of patients have severe allergic reactions, so they stop it, and like they hold it for a couple of days, and it's like 300,000 vaccines doses are like literally paused, and they are trying to figure that out, like what's the reason. But the allergic reaction was like like treated with systemic procedure, and this is one thing. But that is Moderna, not about like Pfizer or biotech. And another one is like in regards to vaccine, what I know from University of Michigan, like, yeah, they are literally trying to like give the phase 1 people, they categorize phase 1 populations are like who are healthcare worker and their employee, regardless of like not only frontline workers, like all researchers, medical assistants, and like everybody else. And also now they are including phase 2 people, those are like 65, the patients who are like 65 and older, and then whoever see at least a provider at UFM last 2 years, that population are also eligible to get the COVID vaccine. And their next phase is like after vaccinated those people, I think their next phase is like all the healthcare workers, relatives and family. So family, even like who are high risk, let's say like who, if you stay with someone who have like 65 and older, and then I mean that population also eligible. So that's a little bit update about Michigan. Thank you, Dalia, for your presentation.
Thank you so much, Sue, for addition and your update. Thanks a lot. Dalia, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to regarding to Wiles question. Those are the other vaccine, as Dr. Nada said, the one from China, Sinovac, Sinopharm, again from China, and then the Jamelia, that's the Russian one, and CanSino, that I don't know. Oh, again, I think it's in China. So those are the and Janssen vaccine. So I haven't got into them. And University of Oxford. So that's all for the other vaccines. And one thing I wanted to add about the vaccine are, as the Sumi said, it's contraindicated for patients that have allergy, especially for the polystyrene glycol, as it's one of the content for the 2 vaccines that are currently used. And that's it for the contraindication.
Thank you so much, Dalia, and thank you, Sumi, for the question or for the addition, and Weil for the question. It's a big topic, so I really appreciate your help, Dalia, for putting all this together and summarize it in a very concise manner and great presentation. Any other questions or any other comments? And thank you, Mulham, for the feedback. Go ahead, Dalia, you want to add something? Okay.
No, thanks.
Khaled Osman, please go ahead.
Yes, I would like to ask about something that is not related to this presentation per se. It's related to the Casper reports that we use for the abstracts. There are some variables we haven't used, and I wanted to ask if we can use them to add another paper, maybe. I also want to ask another question regarding this topic, is when we are going to write the manuscripts and try to publish, maybe.
Great. So we can switch here and talk about abstracts. As of now, I didn't have any update from like acceptance or rejection for the submitted abstract, and it's too early. So I'm not sure how long it will take them, but hopefully soon we will hear from them. As far as using other variables, that's a great idea and good question. So it depends on what variable you want to use and what your hypothesis, what you want to search for. We have some data. So basically, there are 2 ways to do a research. One way is to think about a problem or think about an idea to solve an issue or figure out an issue and then try to come up with a solution. The other option, which is not recommended, is you collect data, you go around and you collect every information, and then you look at it and then figure out if it solve a problem or something. So we have the data, we can look at each variable and see if there is any changes or any things. That will be a great idea as far as figuring out things, what's going on with COVID. If I make things clear for you guys, go ahead, Khalid, if you have a question about this part of the question.
Yes, there are some of the data. I don't know what it stands for. There are some. There is ADL help. I'm not sure what is that.
Excellent.
There's also risk lose B/B. So I don't know what it stands for.
Let me start with the first one. So in the nursing home, they collect all the information about the patient. They create a very long report about each individual. It's similar to your application to ERAS. They collect about your address, your phone, your email, and about your hobbies, your whatever that you mentioned in your CV. In an individual who is admitted to a nursing home, they collect all the information about them as far as personal information, also clinical information, like what kind of medical problems they have, what kind of abilities or disabilities they have. Let me back up. So leave the nursing home aside. Let's talk geriatric. So one concept of geriatric is called ADL. So in medicine, we teach you guys to look at the patient, see what's the chief complaint, and look at the problem as far as what system, what the problem if it's motor system, and you figure that out. You give a medication or surgery or rehabilitation, something. You target one problem, maybe a couple of problems. This is the mindset that we teach you to solve the problem in general, right? Patient with pneumonia or with COVID, you focus on what's the symptoms, what's the diagnosis, what's the treatment for that condition. In geriatric, the approach is different. We don't look at the patient from a chief complaint, one system, one problem, fix the problem. We look at the function of the person. What problem as a function that that person have and how we can fix it. Let's say a patient in geriatric has pneumonia. Most likely, the presentation might not be typical. Usually, in a young patient, they will come with cough, fever, chills, and production of sputum, something like that. In older patients, they may come with the same presentation, but less likely or most likely they can present with, let's say, falls. So falls could be because of many reasons, but one reason you think about is infection. Patient might come with change in mental status. Patient might come with problem with not eating, for instance, or less activity. So you think about the whole person. So this is one approach, differ from what we teach you as medical student, and then when you practice. The other difference is we look at the daily activity. By that means 5 things. When you get up, when you sleep, you get up in the morning or what time you get up. What are the basic needs that every one of us need? So you want to wake up, you go to the bathroom, you take your care of yourself, you want to dress, you want to walk around, and you want to feed yourself, you eat. So these are the more or less 5 things. We call it activity of daily living, or ADLs. So dressing, feeding, walking, taking care of yourself in the bathroom, what else? Something like that. And we use this as if you are able to do it by yourself, or if you need some help, or if you are totally dependent. So there's basically three possibility for you, just roughly speaking. And we use that in the nursing home setting. When a patient comes, we look at them as functional. Are they able to dress themselves independently, or they need some help, or they depend on someone to take it from A to Z? And all these five factors, we put them together to see the patient. And this is the functional level of the patient. And then we go to the next part where we figure out a problem and then we try to solve that problem. So the main objective is we want to track down that person since they come to the facility. And the reason behind that is the government wants to make sure every individual is getting the right care that they deserve. And with objective uh, measurement, they can tell, yes, he is progressing, he is improving, or he is staying at the same level, or he is declining. And then depending on what progress the patient is doing, then they can either recommend you, or you are doing great job, or they can say, oh, maybe you need to investigate more, or they can penalize you. So the nursing homes are very stressful environment where nursing staff, social worker, and administration work very hard to make sure that these patients are not in the decline. If there is one patient who is showing some decline, then the government might come and say, hey, you are not doing a great job. They can close the place totally, or they can fine them, they can stop patient from going to that place, or they can fine them as far as money they can pay the government in penalties, or they can lower their ranking. It's like a hotel system, 5-star hotel system. They can give you 3-star, 5-star, or 2-star, something like that. So depending on your star, patient in the area will look at your place and then decide if they want to come or not. So it will affect you as far as nursing. This in a brief nutshell about how they work and how they get the Casper report. So in the Casper report, one part is the ADL, the activity of daily living. And they will look at that and see if patients are doing good, that's good. If they are not doing well, then the facility needs to have an explanation what kind of problem they identify, how they did identify that, and what their plan of care as far as to fix that problem. If they can show this, they will be on the safe side. But if they don't, then it will be a problem. We use ADL also in outside setting where like in senior center or geriatrics clinic. When patient comes, they will do also geriatric evaluation. It's like a full evaluation. Part of it is ADL. There is another part, it's called IADL. And IADL, it depends on how you define it, but basically you look at the cognitive function. It's called I for instrumental activity. Let's say in a situation where we were talking about COVID and vaccination of older patients, 65 and plus, we look at this segment or this group and see, can this person make a phone call? Can they make an appointment? Can they arrange transportation? Can they think about, so it's kind of a level where they can make decisions, arrangement, can they take their own medication by themselves, something like, or do they need a reminder, do they need someone to help them? So it's kind of a different level. So this is a semi answer or small answer, short answer for you, Khalid. But you can look at that and we can compare and see. It might be a good exercise if you want to do some statistics also. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the great elaboration, Dr. Nader. I will certainly look at it and see if also we can use it.
Excellent. The second part of your question about writing the paper or papers, I think it's a good idea to start thinking of all this as far as we submit it as an abstract, but also we can try to transfer that into an action. Like we can look at if in the literature there is similar papers or similar approaches, and see if we in our data there is something new, and then maybe we can write that as a paper that we can submit to some of the journal. So for that, you need to do a good literature review, see what's going on there. You don't want to duplicate the stuff unless you come up with something new. Sometimes we address things that were addressed in the past, like if the paper was 10 years ago, things changed since then. So we can look at the same variables or the papers that was done 10 years ago, and now we look at from what's happening now in 2020, let's say. And with the COVID, maybe you can add something new and look at the same variable, and then you can write, this is what changed, this is what we think we can do differently with our resources, something like that. So it's a possibility for writing the paper. So the first step, if you want to go that route to convert the abstract to paper, yes, you need to do the literature review and then see what kind of journal or what type of abstract or paper style you want to use so that you can target a certain journal. Does that make sense to you guys? Good. Good questions. Any other questions? Or any other comments? About? Someone was talking, go ahead.
Dr. Nadir, I want to ask a question like, how should we proceed? Like I was thinking at this point, probably we can work on the poster, and when the poster is done, then we should work on the manuscript. So by that day, we will not overwhelmed, and then we'll have a very good idea that we wrote the abstract, and then when we'll be preparing the poster, so we'll have the idea overall that what should be included in the manuscript. So we should go one by one or something like that.
I think it's a good idea to put it in a step wise or step manner. Yes, right now I think the focus will be on putting the abstract into one slide or a couple of slides PowerPoint, and identify who will talk about what, and each one will work on practicing on presentation of their part. That might be a good option for the next couple of weeks to assign each one to work on their part or their task so that they can be prepared. By the time they are we will be ready if they say, go ahead to present your poster. We can also participate in the university. They have their own setting if in case we don't have an acceptance from the Geriatric Society. We can target some local level activities, or maybe university level meetings, we can also present that. So for you guys, I want you to practice, assign everyone a task, and then try to practice each one individually, and see if you have questions, let me know. And you have resources, I hope. Marwa, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask regarding the papers, the COVID-19, the two papers. Well, I know the data that we have was like just analysis of, I would say, with the use of only the Excel. So, is there any way to do more analysis? For example, using chi-square test, because I know our data are categorical, so I think I'm not that great at this part, but I believe chi-square or some other ways of analysis, so we can get a p-value, and accordingly you can say this is significant, this is not significant. Because whenever I read any paper, one of the most important things to say this is valid, the result is not due to chance, there isn't like something like this, at least to validate the results that we have. We need to do something like this, I think, maybe as a first point, and then I don't know if this is something that I think should be considered also. Thank you.
Excellent. That's a good point you raised, Marwa. Thank you. I tried to contact the one person who did the analysis for us. He did it on using the t-test for the poster. So my suggestion is to get some of them to present about the ways of analyzing data. So there are different ways to use t-test or chi-square test or other ANOVA test or different ways. So the basic question is, when do you use this for different data? So if you have certain variables, you look at this test. If you have different variables, or if you have the variables themselves, but different times you want to compare, then you use a different test. Maybe some of you have advanced level where they already practice using SPSS or different statistical methods, but I want to get the basic knowledge for every one of you to know how to approach your data. You already collected the data, we already have these variables, but which test tell us the significance, as you say, but it's meaningful. When you write it down, it makes sense for the reader, because you can use different methods and then come to different conclusion, but the reader is supposed to be convinced that you use the right method for your whatever data collected. So far, I got some suggestion from them that there are some people in the university who can assist doing this, and maybe there are some video recorded lecture or some about the basics, so we don't have to bring someone to talk to you guys. If I can find that available and accessible, then we can share with you, so it will be easier for you to go and from basic science or basic statistics to the next level. Hopefully we can get that up to you soon. In the meantime, as far as if you have time, you can look up this in the app or YouTube. You can go look at what the basics of using one test versus the other, and see what data we have and try to play around. We can use some of the tests using Excel or Google Sheet. Some of them might need a little bit of advanced level skill, or they may need the specific SPSS or a statistical program or software. The software, I got SPSS for myself, but I'm thinking of how we can collectively use it. It's hard for me to share password, so it's not a thing that we can use individually. So, and still we are in the dilemma of buying the same software for every one of you. My proposal for the funding body was that every one of you will get that SPSS at least. The problem is they say you have the money, yes, but the university cannot buy for individuals that are not university, either employee or students. So for you guys to benefit from the money that we have, you have to be a student or you have to be an employee. And to be one of these, also it has some blocking in the way. So we are trying to figure out how we can do that safely. If it comes to the degree of doing it from what I have, then maybe we can assign a different time where we can meet same meeting like this, and then I will use my computer with the SPSS that I have to figure out things to you while you're looking at, and then each one of you can tell me what to do, what not to do, as if it's on his own computer, as far as practicing with the SPSS on advanced level a little bit. Does that make sense to you guys, or am I?
Yes. May I add one thing? I started like I watched one of the videos about the analysis and data and the app, and it's really easy, simple. So I think one of the like it's like from the video series he suggested that using our programming, which is free.
Mhm.
So can we just like maybe instead of, which I think regarding SPSS is going to be like a vicious circle until like things are resolved or something. Maybe we can shift to just work on that specifically. And I don't know if you can maybe ask them about the pros and cons, and if it's like even like, for example, they use this like they are statisticians, they use this on daily basis or something like this. So if there are any drawbacks to use programming or not. If not, then we just can just uh, go that route and try to learn the R programming instead of um, like like waiting for something. If
Yeah.
that is a good suggestion, I don't know.
No, it's a great suggestion, and that was one of the first thing when I talked to the statistic people about that, because they were talking about that a few months ago. The only issue, and I don't want to be a negative person to give you the thing, but it's doable. The problem is it needs a great effort from your part by saying, let's say I want you to develop a web page, just or an app. Nowadays, there are certain tools where you will just copy paste, add colors, and then you have the web page ready. Or you want to add some button here, like the app that I developed. It's an easy, it doesn't need coding. That's a very simple way of doing things. That's what the software that's are there, like SPSS and Stat or Stats, and there another one, Jump. These are, you don't have to investigate behind what's behind the wall, the coding part. You don't have to think about. You just want a t-test. You have the data, put it in a table. It will give you the result without one button. It doesn't involve you like get background about it. Or on the other side, it's a coding kind of program. So you can get the t-test same way, but you have to input an equation or a coding part to get the result. It's very effective if you know the coding part of it. Similar to if you want to build a website, if you know HTML or some coding, you can manipulate the page, make it fancy, make it flashy, make it with using some codes behind the scene, if you know how to do the coding part. So this is the only thing. So if we want to go that route, I have no problem. For you, you need to practice with some of the basics of, number one, you need to know the difference of the tests that are being used and what condition. Then the next part is you want to work on getting this using the basics of like Excel equation and so forth. And then the third part, we can jump into working with the advanced part of R. This is my understanding. I did not use it. I just viewed some of the videos. And if you don't have the background, it will be overwhelming for you. If you have a little bit of some sort of background of what you want to do, then it's one line, you will have your results fast. And it's very useful with big data. It's very fast when you compare it to SPSS. SPSS, if you want to, like this trials, I don't think they are using SPSS. 70,000 people or 70 million or something. When you put all this data and you ask for some, it will take time to process. With R, the time will be in seconds or milliseconds. You will have the results. So tell me what you want to do, and I'll be behind you 100%.
Thank you very much for the explanation. I didn't know the extent of it, and I'm gonna look into it in more details.
Sounds good. Sounds good. But thank you for looking at that and investigating, or at least knowing something about that. That's good. Any other questions or any other additional comments? So it might be a good idea for this, because I want you to focus on the statistic in the coming weeks. If you have some time to look at the app, look at what the Excel and the statistic videos about how you use the basic data to get some of the analysis some ways, and then what's the difference between them. And there are a couple of other videos for the SPSS. Those are just basics if you want to look at them also. So I think it might be beneficial for you to have an idea of what all these tests and how you can achieve them with what you have, if it's Excel or if you can get an access to SPSS. In case you are available or have time to investigate more, maybe as Marwa suggested, maybe we can investigate about R and see if that can be also used in your situation, and down the road will be helpful for you. Thank you. Any other question or suggestion, comments?
Thank you, Dr. Nader, for the explanation. I'm just gonna go back regarding the presentation, poster presentation. For the submitted abstract that has been accepted, we are waiting for the instruction how to build the poster. They mentioned they will reach through email. But I do suggest, like, I hope that we receive, I'm not sure, I was on call, guy. I had to jump off the Zoom meeting. I don't know if we receive anything from AGS or not yet, but hopefully soon. I just suggest that we can still go ahead and do the poster presentation, maybe, and use it for the department just to advocate for more support for the fellowship, if not for us, for the people that come after us for next year or the year after. just to have something solid, that tangible, that they can see that we're doing some work and reaching out to societies to participate in any academic thing or learning process. That's the suggestion.
That's a great suggestion, Lubaba. So just to update you, we didn't receive any information from AGS as of yet. I will update you as soon as I get any information, or if you have any confirmation, please let me know. But yeah, if you want to assign each project team, if you have a team leader, you can assign the task to the members in your team and see who will do what, and you can build it in a PowerPoint, I mean Google slide together, and then you can add that, edit that, and then as far as presenting the part each one of you are assigned, I think it's just a matter of practicing that part, similar to the students. So if you have a just introduction, so your part is to review the literature, be up to date about your part. And when you are presenting, you will have a very good idea about what you are talking about. It makes a huge difference when you have the knowledge and then present versus when you have some data and then you present. Your confidence level will be higher when you have a ton of information and you want to present only one part. If you limit yourself to only that part, you'll be a little bit not that confident. And in real life, if you have questions during the presentation, you'll be off guard. If you have a lot of information, it's like the expert in the field in that, then whatever question you get, you can handle, even if you don't know the answer. Your answer will present as if you are confident in your field. I say, I don't know, then people will accept that. It's just tricks or tips on presentation. So each team leader, you have some work to do with your team, or project leader, I'd say. Excellent, good. All right. Any other question in this part, or should we switch to the next part of interviews? Okay, why don't we switch, and if you have questions or comments, you can add it as we go along. Any updates from you guys? Oh, Shumi, go ahead.
I want to say something about this making this poster, and what I felt in order to make the poster, like whoever works for whatever, like introduction, description, methods, results, I think all of us needs to understand the data very thoroughly, like in detail. Other than it's very hard to even like start with the introduction or methods or conclusion or results, anything, whatever. So in regards to that, probably some of us has a idea like how to do the data analysis and like how to make any results or variable. And some of us probably a very basic stage, which is okay and which is understandable. But is it possible, and also based on Marwa's things, like what I understood, like it's, I think, a good idea that if our data, any like biostatistician or like anybody can help us a little bit or explain that this is how we are looking for, or like this is how the data results should be. If that is very clear to all of us, I think it will be beneficial for all of us to write poster, all like manuscript. So that is one of my suggestions. Thank you.
Excellent, that's good. So we will still see if we can get someone to teach us or shed some lights on the basics, and then look at our data and see what kind of methods we can use and how to present it in a meaningful way. So I agree with you, Sumi. So thank you for the suggestion. Go ahead, Marwa.
Regarding the interview experience, I had two interviews 1 week apart. And just one thing to say that one of them maybe was probably the best interview experience and the other was the worst one. So, and in both, it's not related to how prepared I was, because both of them were at time where like it was difficult for me. One of them was only 1 day after the submission of the abstract, so I was like, I wasn't ready. I didn't have time to prepare enough, but I tried my best at least. And the other one, I wasn't feeling well until the day of the interview itself. So again, it was, I would say, one of the best experiences nonetheless. I will start with the good one. And I think that the best thing was like people really were, I would say, friendly. And I would say some sense of like they were not judgmental. They wanted to know more, because in my resume there are some things like need to be filled gaps, like since graduation, what did I do? It was like a couple of years, more than 5 years. So like red flags, or I would say, I don't know how to call it, but some programs would use that as like a way to make you feel like I would say, to intimidate you as an applicant. So my suggestion overall is to just feel positive, do your best to like feel good, energetic. I think this makes all the difference in the interview itself, because even though I wasn't ready, I was trying to be smiling all the time, just try to be positive about the whole thing, and actually it went very well. And although I was asked questions that I wasn't prepared for specifically, I think they had a good answer, and I received good feedback from them. So hopefully it went well. And the other thing regarding the bad experience, it was just, I'm not sure if it was like, I felt it was personal. The person who was conducting the interview, the program director, unfortunately, was just like, whatever is negative in my resume, he was using it in a way against me. Whatever positive thing I say was disregarded, and it's like, it's nothing. I don't care. And whatever is negative was like highlighted, and just keep bringing up things that's not, I would say, irrelevant in the context of the interview. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Marwa, for sharing. Thank you so much. So good luck with interviews and everything, and don't be thinking negative about what, it's an experience, and sometimes you think about what they're thinking or what their situation. Sometimes if this program director have a fight with the wife, I usually blame my wife, then you just blame that, or maybe it's just a bad day for him, and he just want to think about the negative or the other part of the resume. So don't worry. It's just maybe they didn't drink enough coffee. The other part, yes, I think if you want to convince the other interviewee or the interviewer, just pretend, as they say, fake it until you make it. Just by pretending, by smiling, by showing yourself as you are the candidate for that program, and every one of you is a good candidate. You are a great opportunity for them. Think about selling yourself. You are our opportunity for that program. They will be lucky to have you. If you go answer your question with this mentality, I think you will convince them. Don't be negative about yourself. Even the program themselves, if you want to attack them, you will find some mistakes or some deficiencies in each program, even the big ones. But you think about how you present yourself, image yourself to them. So keep it up. That's good. Excellent. Anyone else? Are you welcome?
Yes.
Yes.
Also, I have. I had my interview last Friday, and it went very well. And also, the interviewers were very nice. And from the beginning, they told me that we don't want to grill you, and we don't have any kind of behavioral questions or something like that. They started immediately because there are a few things in your CV that are not self-explanatory, and we want to know you more, and we need to tell us about these experiences. And as Marwa mentioned, it's kind of red flags, and they asked me that you are away from clinical practice for considerable amount of time. And I explained to them, and I believe my explanation was convincing to them. And also they asked me how you are going to fit clinically in our program, given the fact that you have a clinical gap. And also I answered their question. Like I told them, I have, for the last 2 years, yes, I have a US clinical experience and direct contact with patients on a daily basis. And I told them about my skills, and I'm fast learner and all these things. And I believe they convinced by my answer. But in general, I will say it was a very good interview. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Khalid, for sharing. And thank you, Marwa, for sharing as well. Good job and good luck. Anyone else?
Hi.
Hi.
Omnia here. So I had my last interview 2 days back. It was a university program, but the program was relatively small. The program director and the associate director were very nice, and they asked basic questions. Basically, they were telling me about the program and why should I come, more than they were grilling me or asking me. The problem was with the residents. They were very hostile to us. Very, very, very. I felt extremely uncomfortable. And I liked this program before the interview, but now I think I will rank it very low because the residents were not nice. I don't think I can survive 3 years around them. They started asking, they were very rude answering. They were eating while we were answering. It was strange with the residents. So I think it tells a lot about what kind of environment. I'm not going to be following the program director. I will work with the residents. So it's nice to have someone who's supportive, who's nice. They are clearly not nice. Either the AMGs or the IMGs. And all of us shared the same. I have few colleagues who did the interview with me at the same day. They shared the same opinion. So just guys, notice the residents' behavior, because those are the ones you're gonna interact with. If they're not nice to each other, they are rude to you, because usually on the interview day, everybody is at his best image and he's selling himself as a nice person, polite. If they have an attitude during the interview day, this means life with them will be hell. So just wanted to point out that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And I wish you good luck. Yeah. Anyone else?
If I may share.
Sure, please.
First, thank you for everyone sharing your interesting interviews, and inshallah to work well for everyone. I did have an informal meeting with the residents, and it was an interesting one. This program I worked with 6 months ago. I did a rotation there. So when I went there, everyone's like, oh, notice it's Mulham. I was like, what is going on? So they were very friendly. Yeah, it was surprising. I wasn't expecting that they will be extremely informal during residence meeting, even though I met the chief resident during the interview, the formal meeting before that. So it was a mix, actually. We did the formal meeting first and then the informal meeting after because of COVID. They had the shortage of physicians during the end of December. So they delayed it for 3 weeks. And yeah, they were very formal during that meeting. Right now, they became very informal, alhamdulillah. But I wasn't really into asking questions because they knew that I was there and they knew that I was in the hospital. I knew exactly everything about the program. So I didn't ask any questions. I was like there. And it wasn't, I think it was a good, as exactly what Omni mentioned, we're looking if we're having an opportunity to see how ourselves in the next couple of years with the program. And based on it, we'll see how, if you're going to be happy on it. The goal is to match. And then if we're able to see a program that's going to provide us all we want and being happy during that period is, I think it's important. And maybe because of that experience, I might rank the program at the first. Yeah, as Omnia mentioned, the importance of that. And thank you, everyone. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm, for sharing. And thank you, the rest of you. That's good. And I wish you good luck all. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Also, I would like to thank Mulham and Marwa. They helped me during the interview. We did some rehearsal and I got great feedback from them. And I think it helped me a lot to prepare for my interview. And also, I interact with residents. They were very nice. But to Omnia's resident, for me, I think I will survive in any environment. If they are rude, I will be like, I know how to deal with these people. So my goal, just I want too much. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I take your point as mentioned. The environment, if we are in a situation where we want to get in, it doesn't matter unless you have a couple of options to choose from. If, as Omnia said, she might have other different programs, then you can rank. This will be the lowest environment residency program. So just put it down at the end of the list for you. But if you have a good program with a good environment, then put it at the top level of your list. But again, as Khalid said, at this level, you want to get in. And then the next step is what you're going to do. And most of the time, you're going to survive, even with bad experience from the residents, fellows, or people around you, even attending. You're gonna survive. If you don't, if it's a bad experience, really, really bad, at least you will have your first year. In the meantime, you can think about changing the program the second year. It will be as easy compared to entering the program. So think positive about it, even if you have been accepted to an environment where you didn't like. Try to change when you are there. If you can't, change the program itself. It will be a transfer easier that way than from the start you say, I don't want to go there because of whatever. And sometimes it might be just a situation where you have an impression for some reason, as I said to Marwa, it's just because of the program director didn't drink coffee that day. Maybe they presented that way, or maybe it's not the whole thing behind. I worked in two different residency programs, one in New Jersey and one in Michigan. I can compare the difference in the environment. So then there will be some differences, but I think the goal is to get in. The environment doesn't play a big role unless you put in the list of ranking. Thank you. You want to add something, Dalia, or someone else?
No, Okay,
Thank you, Khalid. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Omni, and everyone. Any additional information or sharing? So hopefully you will get more interviews in the coming days. I spoke to Muhammad Saleh and Osman, and they are working, so it's hard for them to join us during these meetings. But I think they are participating or some with you guys with the abstract and activity, so that's good. Both of them, I think they had some interviews, and I wish them good luck as well. All right. Let's talk about next week. Do we have anything in plan for next week as far as presentation? We are done with the teams, or there's one more team to present? Go ahead, Ali, and then Mulham.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So before we go into that, I would like to update you on Norway. That is, if you all remember, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes, Ali. Go ahead, Ali. Yeah.
Okay. So, as of January 14, the Norwegian authority has declared that there is 23 deaths possibly linked to COVID vaccine. The preliminary investigation showed that 13 of them showed some side effects like fever, nausea, and aches. And they were all 80 plus years old. So during the last week, many news came ahead, and that raised many concerns for safety with regard to vaccines, either Pfizer or Moderna. So in Norway, there are more 6 deaths. Their ages were 75 years and above, so less than the previous one, 80 to 75. And in Europe, there were 71 deaths up to yesterday, and the majority were 80 plus, and almost all were 70 years old plus. So in US, the news were all about that physician who was 56 years old and who died 2 weeks after the vaccination. And there is no conclusion yet about the cause of his death. And also the baseball legend, Hank Aaron, who died after he was shot in the public to advocate for the vaccine nearly 2 weeks ago. He was vaccinated in the television, and he died, I think, yesterday. He took Moderna vaccine. So as we have mass hysteria about vaccine safety in the general population and also in the physicians, we need to know what officials said. So regarding Dr. Fauci, I will quote what he said. So the first question is, what was the rate of death in nursing home in the individuals who never received the vaccine? Once you get that, you will get the true denominator. So what Fauci is trying to explain is that geriatric population dies in nursing home with or without the vaccine. So for instance, in Norway, the nursing home statistics show that there is 400 deaths per week. Up to last week, there was more than 45,000 patients in nursing home residents who got vaccinated. So what Pfizer states is that that number of deaths is in line with expectations, and there is no need for anxiety. So moving to the investigations, as I said, what the preliminary investigations showed, but the final results can take time to establish because it's very complicated, and we need to rule out all possible causes before we can say that the vaccine caused the death in the nursing home residents. So some experts expect the final results be published by June this year. And some ways to think about if the vaccine caused the deaths is to compare deaths during this month, for instance, and the last year, same month, to get an overview. But in the meantime, what we know so far, there is no impact on Norwegian vaccination strategy. We have consensus on that there is no causal relationship between the vaccine, either Pfizer or Moderna, with mortality. Actually, Dr. Fauci got the Moderna, I think. So it was shocking to me what Sumi said. There is some concerns for safety in the Moderna vaccine. But up to now, as I said, there is no causal relationship. We need to think whether the vaccine is a contributing factor for deaths, whereby the vaccine caused fever, malaise, and so on, or it's just a coincidence. So that's what we are looking for in the meantime. And for the recommendation regarding geriatric vaccination, those who are very old or terminally ill, or as they have said, those who have very short lifespan, for those individuals, the decision to vaccinate or not should be made individualized. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ali, for the update. That's really informative and concise and really up to date, which is great. Thank you so much for sharing this with us and doing the hard work. Excellent. Thanks. Mulham?
Thank you, Dr. Nader. First, I would like to start with Ali's mashallah update. It was a great storytelling process. He started with death and then he transitioned into it. And yeah, he mentioned the point about Moderna. Yeah, it is very shocking that the relation that Dr. Fauci took the Moderna when there's a concern. I really think that it was, as it's said a couple of days ago, that it's probably a bad shipment, because many, even my friends, doctors or not, from public, have taken Moderna. So, and even in Saudi Arabia, they have different shipments from Pfizer and Moderna, and they're using it. I did ask some of my friends who are giving to the patients Pfizer and Moderna. So there isn't any concern there, but maybe a bad shipment happened, and this resulted in the chaotic, once again, media. This is the effects of the media. If there's small effects, it becomes widespread, and that resulted in the shipment. And risk now is, many are speaking about it. They say, I don't want it. I know it's going to kill me. Well, yeah, so that's the media. Okay, so that's the point about that point. But also I remember one thing from Marwa's point about the program director who was rude. I had a program director who was very rude, who said, Mulham, I can see that your score is low. What happened? Did the worms eat your mind? Why are you scoring so low? I was laughing. He was surprised I was laughing because he was extremely rude. But then again, I watched a lot of videos about him. I noticed that he had a mix between rudeness and funny nature. So I knew that he was that's him. He was being himself. So when I laughed, he understood that I actually understood his joke. So probably I would fit easily. We had multiple situations. We laughed, and I transitioned easily into the conversation. So I probably every interview I read about my interviewer as well as videos from the YouTube. I watch their ability to speak, facial expressions, if they're rude, or what is their angle, and how can I transition that during the conversation if I'm having a tough interview. I did have 2 or 3 situations. This was the toughest one, but it worked well in that situation. So just if anyone is having next interviews, inshallah, make sure to watch videos. There's always interviews based on the presentation conference or in the program. Just see their attitude. Sometimes some of them are very funny. So yeah, that will be very helpful to interact with those program directors or associate program directors. And one last thing, Dr. Nasser, you mentioned about the suggestion for next week. There's our last group, inshallah, next week. It will be based on COVID-19 genetic mutation. Yeah, thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. I just want to make sure that thing is ready. Excellent. Good. Roa, I think you have a question or comment.
Yes. Hello, Dr. Nader and everyone. Regarding the PowerPoint presentation that we submit, I'm asking if we are expecting like to hear feedback from you, or when will that be?
Excellent. Excellent. So yes, there will be a feedback. It's gonna be an informal feedback, so it's not gonna be harsh on you guys. I want to do it in a way where you will get 2 feedback. One from my point of view, or from what I think what you did good, what you did not that great, so you can improve. But at the same time, I want a feedback from your peers. So every one of you, if you have time to look at the videos from your other fellows, then you can comment on that. Let's say this is Dr. Abdurrahman, I'm looking at Mulham's presentation. I will give Mulham his feedback from my point of view. I will say, you did this good, you did this good. These are the 3 areas where you can improve. Number 1, number 2, number 3, okay? This is an informal feedback as far as Mulham's presentation, an example, for example. And I will do for all of you. And hopefully this will be an area for you to improve. What you need to do, you can do the same presentation, look at what you can improve. You can try it again and see. Nothing to worry about if you don't want to do that. That's absolutely okay. In the coming presentation for you, I think it will be a good idea to have like an idea of where you want to improve, where you want to work hard on getting things done right way or the best way. And always there is room for improvement. The second part is the feedback from the other fellows. And in that, I expect some of you will say, yes, you did this right, and this right, and this right. But also I want you to raise if there is one or a couple of other points where there is room for improvement for that person that you see they can do it in a better way. So it's a job for every one of you to look at the videos that are uploaded and see. Your job is to critique the presentation as far as how they did what they did good, to add some points, and also if there are some rooms for improvement. That, if you have time to do that, that would be great. That's for the skills for every one of you and the presentation skills. We're gonna work on getting these presentation skills improved in a different way also. So perhaps in the future we can assign one team or two teams to work on how we can improve the presentation, what the best people do in TED Talks, let's say, or actual presentation or virtual presentation, what the tips for that is, like the tips we shared for the interviews for you guys. So that's down the road. Maybe we can assign one team or two teams to help us with that, shed some lights. So this is as far as the feedback, and hopefully this will help you improve individually for the skills. But I want you also, when you look at these videos, I want you to analyze it and see what information that you already knew about the topic. Let's say they're talking about diabetes. Most of you know a lot about diabetes, but this slides or presentation is about diabetes in older population. So you think about it from a knowledge base. You want to think about what you know, what you don't know, what the new information that you get from these slides, and think about it as an asset for you in the future. When you see patients, you will divide them into young patient with diabetes, older patient with diabetes, and older patient with diabetes. We look for this, how we can improve this, and how we can prevent this, something like that. So your approach will be like, what kind of knowledge I can get from this presentation that I can use in my practice in the future. And if there is a room for improving, not only as far as management per se, but prevention as far as what can we do for younger people? What can I do for my cousin who has diabetes now? He's in his 40s or he's in his 30s or 20s. How can I advise them to prevent something happening in their 60s or 70s? How can I advise them from now to do things the right way, or maybe change behaviors or habits or something like that? So it's kind of an analysis of the presentation to suit your needs, also to build your knowledge in geriatric medicine, and that you may need to use in the future. So that also, if you can also comment for the presenters that, oh, I didn't know about this, that would be a good idea. Similar to maybe summarize it like Mulham mentioned some of Daria's presentation. You touch on this. These are really key points, and I hope that I will use it in the future, something like that. So your feedback will be helpful to the presenter as well as to people who will read your feedback and yourself, hopefully, in the future. Does this make sense for you guys as far as feedback for your presentation? That's a great question, Ruwa.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Nader. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next step is for me to, I think I need to work on the app just to make sure when you log in, you have all the videos available for you. When you have a chance to look at the videos, then you have a chance to put some comments. Maybe, I don't know if we should put it a private comment for the presenter and then public comment as far as for the whole group. So as a presenter, you will see your own de-identified feedback as far as what you think you can improve or what, and then as a group, what they say about you, and it's for the public. So what do you think, or if you have any suggestions or questions or comments? Morham, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to agree. That's also the reason why I raised my hand first. I wanted to ask where we'll be able to make the comments. But yeah, you explained it's better to have it in a private and public. I think that's more appropriate because yes, there are some comments better to be in private and some points on public. That will be more appropriate. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I sit in a committee for the medical students here in MSU, and it's we review their final dashboard, they call it. It's a new thing in the last 4 years. The way they teach medical students is different than what happened in the US. It's a new curriculum where from the start, from day one, you will have the exposure to deal with patients. So it's not like you go to the basics knowledge. No, you do that. Along with that, they want them to know how to take history, how to interact with the social aspect of the patient, how to, even to the degree, how to work as a medical assistant in an office, for instance, how to room the patient, how to take the blood pressure, how to ask the basic question of why you are here, we're gonna refill your medication, something as basic as that from first year. And then you go along second year, third year, advance with your knowledge and then advance with your skill. So by the time they graduate, they will have solid knowledge and skills, so they will be better prepared for the actual environment they will be in. So it's not going to be like a learning curve after they graduate for the skills or something. So my role in the committee is to look at what they scored, like in the scoring system, like in their knowledge base, but also their interaction in this setting where they go to a clinic, what they do with the patient. So the staff will have a feedback on them from that clinic, or what if they have in a small session with other students, what the other student will give them as feedback. Do they contribute? Do they come late? Do they add information, contribute as far as, or are they shy? Or are they all the way like they are aggressive and they shut other people? They don't give other people a chance to, in a small group, to discuss. So these are feedback, and all this will help the student each level to improve. Some, they don't see themselves the shortcoming, or they don't know what's wrong with their especially if you have, let's say, one student, he worked in a setting where he was at the EMS, like emergency, take ambulances and take patients. So he has the knowledge, the skills at the level of the medical personnel. So with that, when you are a medical student, we want you to go to the level where you want to learn and share that learning experience with the rest. But if you come with a mentality that, oh yeah, I know everything about this, then you will not learn, and you will not have the environment for the others to learn with you. So a feedback like that will be useful. Okay, sorry, I talked too much. Thank you, Mulham. So hopefully in the coming few days, we will have you look at the videos and put some comments. Hopefully it's gonna be as a way of private and public comments, and hopefully you will add in your public comments that what you think you learned, what you think you will improve on, or I mean, you get the idea as far as geriatric is. Excellent. Any other questions or any other suggestions? Thank you.
Yes, I like the idea of all of us give feedbacks for our colleague and to know areas that we need to improve. I do suggest we can do all of them without being a private as an anonymous. Like maybe we will benefit from the private comments as well. Just like put your comment as an anonymous. Nobody will know who commented that comment, but
that's also another option. So
yeah, so we can benefit from all the points, you know. So nothing is personal. It's all about learning and improving ourselves.
Okay, I think that might be a better way to, yeah, and less other. Let me hear from you guys, but the positive side for that, I agree with you. It's gonna be easier for the, let's say, reviewer. When you watch the video, you have certain points, you can just put them all together. You don't worry about which one is public, which one is, it's just less work for you. That's a positive thing. The only issue, how we can make it anonymous. If, it's just a matter of app development, coding sides of it, but I think might be a good option. Let me hear from you guys. What do you think? Mulham approach or?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Much work on you.
I think it's a good idea. I think I watched Dr. Ali and Dalia, and I gave them both feedback about their presentation. Yeah, it's a good idea. Even if you yourself can see your own video, you can learn from it, which you can areas you can improve, which area you need to work on. And by the time, like after 3, 4, 5 presentation, you will notice a difference between your first presentation and the last one. There will be definitely a difference between them. Yeah, but it's a good idea, even like it's private or in public. It's the main important thing is to be candid about it. No one take it personally.
Okay. Sure. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I clicked somewhere.
This is Yasin.
Why? Okay, go ahead. Sorry. That's fine, Roy. Go ahead, Why? Or... So, anyone else wants to add? Like, I agree. Go ahead, Why? Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I was talking a lot.
We got most of it, but at the end of your talk, I think I hit unmute.
No, it's all right. I think I finished already. So
okay,
yeah, it's a great idea overall.
So
thank you.
Any other suggestion, Ali? Go ahead, and if anyone else after him, go ahead, Ali.
Yeah. I think I would prefer Mulham's way. For instance, if someone gave me feedback and I need more clarification, whether it's good or bad, if I need more clarification, it's better if I know that Marwa has said so, and I need more clarification from Marwa, and so on. So for me, I don't think we won't personalize negative feedback or anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. So you are with Mulham approach. So we have 2 on one side and 2 on the other side. Let's say, what do you think, the rest of you guys? Which approach do you think?
Hello.
Hello, hi Ryan. Go ahead. And your voice a little bit far away. Can you come near the mic, please? Yes.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I agree with Lubaba's approach, and I feel like even it's better for us, all of us, to learn, to see all comments, and if anyone find that he needs to make an improvement or to reach to the anonymous person who put that comment, like he can ask him directly, please reach out to me or something like that, so they can have a chat or phone call, and they, like, he can tell that person what do you think he should improve or how can he do it. But I like the idea that all of us can see the comments and it could be anonymous. Anonymous, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. So 3 against 2. Ali, and your comment is appreciated, but there is a way to fix it, as per Ryan. So any other feedback or any other suggestion, body?
Well, I would say, yeah, it's better to be like to tell the person that had the presentation, like it's not personal. It shouldn't be anonymous, from my opinion, because we all want to improve. So as Rayan said, if anyone, like just like Mulham is doing, like after any presentation, he comment and give the feedback, which is great. And if there's something negative, of course, he start with the positive things, and then if there's any negative things, he will mention, which is again great. And nobody took it personal. So and that's the thing of growing. Like we are growing. So yeah, that's it.
Excellent, excellent. So now you are on the other side. So 3 against 3. Azza, go ahead.
Yes, hi everybody. I really think that for myself, I don't mind, just like Dali said, I'm looking for feedback and constructive criticism, like we all do, I think. And of course, it's not personal, and it's just a matter of maybe Lubaba is doing that for more comfort, like the person to be. But I think nobody's here taking it personally or anything. We're just honestly seeking an honest feedback. And I know that I have some deficits in my presentation, and I just maybe someone else notices something that I'm not aware about. So I personally don't mind. I really want your feedbacks either on our Zoom meeting or text message. I don't mind, of course. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Azza.
Yeah.
So 4 on the first approach, Mulham approach, and 3 on the purpose approach. So anyone else wants to add, suggest, or weigh in? But that's go ahead. So someone jumped out of the boat. Okay. Okay.
As I just said, and that we want to hear the honest feedback if you feel like comfortable giving it. So I think that's a good approach. Yeah, we are learning. Nothing is going to be taken personal. So
Yeah. So more on the Mulham approach, and now we will say different anonymous approach. Go ahead.
One thing I would just want to mention, the approach of the comment itself, it should be the sandwiching way, which is really important. Like it's better just to say that the positive things first, or like just it's better not to be all negative. Though in real life, that could not happen. Like we can hear just a negative thought, a negative comment. But I would say just for the future, and if we want like to give someone a negative feedback, we should always start with a positive, like we like this, we like that. But I would say that you should improve that part and that part. So yeah, I'm just talking about the approach here.
I agree with you completely. So it's a good opportunity to practice the sandwich of feedback, way of feedback. That's good. Excellent. Any other suggestions?
that's another point that we support Mulham's idea. So we will learn how to give feedback as well. So yeah, I'm backing up from my suggestion.
Okay. All right. If no one objects, maybe we can use approach that everyone can feel free to get feedback from everyone, and at the same time, who is giving the feedback will feel free to use a sandwich and give honest, respectful feedback. Same way you expect people to give you feedback. Good. I think we reach a conclusion unless there is other point or someone thinks differently as far as assessing this presentation.
Can I say something?
Yes, please. So, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it's I like the way it should not be anonymous, because as this is a platform for our improvement, and we should be honest and like respectful, of course, for our opinion. At the same time, I mean, for my opinion, like I really do not care if it is a negative or positive. I would even appreciate if there is a negative. What are the negatives? I want to know, because that's the place I can work on it and possibly improve in future and grow from there. So I am truly appreciate if I get a negative feedback from my peers. And here, this is a very good opportunity. And another thing also, I want to say that I mean nothing personally here. And as like Marwa said about the program director, or Mulham said, like program director mentioned the negative stuff. I think that is the way of looking at someone, how we react if someone have a negative attitude on us. Because during residency, I feel also like when they discuss a faculty or like a director or someone like discuss with the patients or something, sometimes the resident, they are able to answer the questions, sometimes they are not. But they also figure out like how we react, how the resident react, like if we don't know something, or like some negative from someone. So it is a way of them to see how we react, how we can take our critique on I mean, for us, or like our negative things. So some people wants to see that way. So here also I want to connect that thing to for our feedback here from our peers. Like some people wants to see that how I react if someone say negative about me. But that is nothing that person has to be enemy, or that person is a bad person or something. I would even consider that person a good friend of mine who can point out my negative stuff. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And I just want to share an experience with you. When I was on my second year as a resident, one of my fellow residents also gave me a feedback, and it was negative, but in a very good way. And I was handling it differently because I didn't get back home. We don't get feedback or negative. You just think yourself as a perfect person. But after thinking about it, I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know about that. That's what I did is like affecting all these people. So I'm like, okay, then I will work on that. So feedback sometimes highlight where you can improve further more. So just take it as a positive, even if it's a negative feedback, it's for your own good. So thank you. So we'll put it as a way, just in the app. You look at the video, you give your honest opinion about what you think went right and what you think can be improved, and if anything that we can share together. Um, by saying that, also I think some of you might give their own feedback about themselves. Sometimes you look at yourself a year ago or a week ago, you say, "Oh, I wish I did this way." So maybe you can give. It's just a thought. Maybe you can give yourself feedback, highlight something, how you can improve. Okay, excellent. That's enough about feedback. Let's talk about something. So next week we have something in mind. The last team will present. Anything else? Any other questions? Any other comments? Any other suggestions in general about the fellowship? If you have any feedback so far? I don't see hands, and I think people are asleep or they need coffee. Okay, so I think it's all right. Let's adjourn and finish this meeting. We'll see you next week, hopefully Saturday, same time. And I wish you all the best, hopefully to hear good news from all of you. And I will send you an update as far as you can start putting your feedback about the videos and share with others. Great, good job everyone. Thank you for sharing and thank you for caring. Have a wonderful day.
You too, Dr. Nader.
Thank you, Dr. Nader.
Thank you, Dr. Nader.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good day, everyone.
Have a great day.
Have a great day and a great night, everybody.